Okay, so new Banlist just came out. I know absolutely nothing about the contents of the new Banlist. I just know that there is a Banlist. And also there is a new box coming out, which I also don't know what contents it has. But before we go through the Banlist, let's have a look at the newly released card, which will be in a bundle apparently. So we will get a Phantom Knight's rank up magic launch. I know that card. I've played this card in Master Duel to make specifically Kali Yuga during opponent's turn. But yeah, this card is pretty good. It will have a lot of better targets if there are good Raid Raptor Xyz monsters in the next main box, but it will kind of depend on the Xyz monsters that we get for the new main box. Because I think for now we don't really have a lot of good targets for rank up magic launch. So yeah, we will go through the main box later. For now, we will go through the forbidden and limited list and also skill rebalancing. Okay. So before I get into it, let me just talk about what I expect from the ban list. Well, obviously, the best decks in the format are Mekk-Knights. Well, salads are still pretty popular as well, even though they already got nerfed quite a bit. So they might get nerfed again. Maybe some of their cards limited to 3, but I really don't mind Salad that much personally. But yeah, Infernoids will probably get hit. For me personally, I think Infernoids, the best way to hit Infernoids is probably to limit, either limit the Void Feast to 1, or you limit the punishment and feast both to 3. So it lowers the consistency of them drawing the feast in the opening hand, which impacts the deck a lot, because the deck doesn't really do a lot if they do second and don't have, or they don't have Void Feast. The deck is really reliable on really relies on the opening hand having Void Feast, so that will hit the deck quite significantly if they decide to do that. Yeah, I do expect some kind of Inferno hit, and it's probably going to be pretty hard because it's a free-to-play deck that is popular in the meta, and Konami doesn't really like popular free-to-play decks. Mekk-Knights, I think they might limit maybe Nightfall and something else to 3, maybe. I think maybe Nightfall and the quick play, the memories. Yeah, they probably should limit memories. Either maybe memories to 1 or 2, and maybe I think the best way to nerf the deck is still Purple Nightfall and memories to 3. That will limit the deck's consistency. And yeah. Okay, what other decks are good in the meta? Okay, Galaxy Eyes. I think Galaxy Eyes, for me personally, Galaxy Eyes are okay. They're good, but I'm fine with them not hitting Galaxy Eyes, but they probably will. I think they just need to nerf the skill. That's it. The cards itself aren't really good by themselves. The main problem is the skill. And also, the deck really is really vulnerable to just Warning Point or Book of Moon if they don't draw lands. They literally have to draw the out. And also, they just lose if their Photon Dragons get banished. So just any kind of graveyard banish effect will stop the deck. So for me personally, Galaxy Photons aren't really that. I don't really care if they get nerfed or not, but it will be nice to see them get a slight hit just because they're so popular in the ranked ladder. And okay, let's see what other decks are there. I think that's probably it for the meta decks, right? Is there any meta deck that I am missing. I like Mekk-Knights, Infernoids, Salads, Galaxy Photon. Is that it? Yeah, that's probably it. I'm guessing. Okay, let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time. Okay, implementation details. Let's go. Oh, they're limiting Infernity Launcher. Okay. So Infinities, they are quite popular in the meta. They're decently popular. They're not too popular, but they aren't really good because they lose like 99% of the time if they go second. So for me, I personally played Infinities for quite a bit, and the deck is okay. It is like really hard to beat if they go first. It's literally impossible to beat if Inverted player goes first and doesn't brick. But if they go second, they don't really do a lot. They lose to just any kind of disruption. So for me, Infinity decks are more toxic than they are good, which I think it's fine if they limit Infinities. I mean, the deck isn't really fun to play against anyway. You either win the coin toss and they scoop immediately, or they win the coin toss and you scoop immediately, which is not really fun to play. So okay, it's fine. Moray of Greed, level 2 to 1. That doesn't really limit... What? Okay, it doesn't really do a lot, okay. Turtle of the Sharks decks, it says, this card will be limited to reduce the high consistency of, Turtle of the... I don't think that Turtle of the Sharks is played a lot in this meta. I think this card is fine, honestly. I don't know why they would limit this card. I guess I'm a tiny bit sad just because I use this card in Crystron sometimes. But, well, this doesn't change a lot, which is, weird choice, but okay. Okay, next card. Limit 2, okay, that's all the limit to 1 cards. So they didn't limit, Feast to 1. Which, can be a good thing. Maybe they will just completely destroy... Maybe they will just limit 2 or limit 3 a bunch of Infernoid cards. Maybe. Okay, limit 2. Banlist to 2. Okay, so they did hit Salads. Banlist to 2. I actually expected them to limit Banlist for the first ban. So in the first ban list where they limited Gazelle and Raw, I actually expected them to also limit Banlist in some form. Just because I think Banlist is one of the biggest problems of the deck that makes them so good is that they have destruction protection, which makes them really hard to get rid of. It's just annoying. It allows them to play techs like Needle Sealing, which really counters a lot of decks. So yeah, Banlist to 2 is good to limit Banlist and also limit Lady Debug, because Lady Debug is also limited 2. And Salads are forced to play Banlist because it's one of the best cards they have, so that means the consistency of Salads are even lower now. They can only play a single copy of Lady Debug. Okay. That means they'll probably have to resort to playing 3 copies of Cyanide Mining, which means they will have to pay for more packs from the main box, which is not ideal. That spell does require you to discard 1 card, so it's not the best thing, but you have a lot of Salad cards that want to be discarded, so that doesn't really matter too much. But I think Salads is still playable. People just need more Cyanide Minings. That's probably the solution. And also, because it's limited to 2 and not 3, you can still play 3 copies of Circle. So you can play triple Circle, triple Foxy, 1 Lady Debug, and maybe some copies of Cyanide Mining. So consistency-wise, I think the deck is still decent. Okay, next card. Void Banishment. Okay, so they decided to go the limit 2 route for Infernoids. So banishment to 2 is well, we will have to see the rest of the Banlist to determine if this limit is good or not, because if they also limit freeze to 2, then that will be an enormous hit. But if it's only banishment, then it's fine. It's not too big of a deal because they don't really play limit 2 cards in the deck anyway, so losing just one copy of banishment won't do a lot. But I'm guessing that they will probably limit feast to 2, or maybe Decatron to 2. That's my guess, because limiting just banishment alone to 2 won't do a lot. So okay, this card will be limited, as this card effect will give the player a big step towards victory. Okay, okay, so only banishment is limited to 2. So, okay, that's a bit weird. I do expect them to completely destroy Infernoids, but apparently not. They will spare Infernoids, or maybe they'll just limit 2 of their cards to 3. I don't know. I'm not sure, but if it's only banishment to 2, it's actually not that bad. It could be worse. I mean, okay, limit 3 cards. Suprex. Oh yeah, Gokis are meta. I totally forgot about Gokis. Oh. Why did I completely forget about Gokis? Okay, let me talk about what I think about Gokis in the current meta. So Gokis are really popular mainly because they're really cheap and are fast on OTKing, and they really end games quickly, which is good for events like KC Cup. But in terms of like power level, if you're not playing a lot of back row, the deck really doesn't do a lot if their plays get interrupted. So they are mainly an OTK deck, so they would prefer going second. And if they don't draw lands again or MST, they just lose to 1 interruption again. It's similar to Galaxy Photons. So well, at least they can still play the game even if they get interrupted. If they don't lose immediately the next turn, they can still search more cards from the graveyard effects of their Gokis and continue playing. But honestly, I think the deck is a bit boring to see just normal summon Suprex every time. But in terms of like power level, it's not too bad. I think. So since we didn't see any Mekk-Knight cards in Limit 1 and 2, I am imagining they're probably Purple Nightfall and Memories to Free. I'm hoping. Okay, so Suprex to Free, so... Okay, what this means is they can't play Limit 3 traps. But they probably will limit more Goki cards to 3, I'm thinking. They probably should. This card will be limited to reduce the high consistency of Goki decks as well as their ability to summon many monsters in 1 turn. So, from this synopsis, I'm guessing they will also limit another Goki card to 3, otherwise it doesn't really limit the deck at all. So, okay, let's go on. Okay, they limited Goki rematch to 3, so basically they just limited Goki Suprex to 2. That's basically it, because we only have 1 rematch. Unless they also limited finishing move to 3, then that will limit Suprex to 1, which is quite a big hit. But we will have to see if Goki's finishing move gets hit as well. It does, okay, so rematch and finishing move and Suprex all to 3. That's quite a big hit, even though people only usually play 1 rematch and 1 finishing move, but that means they can only play 1 single Suprex in their deck, which is funny. I mean, the deck itself isn't consistent already. They kind of need to open with Suprex or draw reinforcement of the army, or rely on the graveyard effects of the other Gokis to search Suprex. That just makes them even less consistent. This deck is just not worth it anymore, I think. But for me personally, I play the deck with a million trap cards, so it doesn't affect my version too much, but it does limit the amount of limit-free traps I could play in my Goki deck, because I do play triple copies of IDP. But yeah, that is a really toxic version of the deck, which you probably shouldn't play. Okay, that is a big Goki hit. What's next? Any Mekk-Knight cards? There is Mekk-Knight. Okay, Mekk-Knight Blue Sky. Blue Sky to free is less ideal than Nightfall to free. Maybe they're limiting both Blue Sky and Nightfall, which is pretty good. But I think Blue Sky is, comparatively to Memories and Nightfall, is less good. But maybe they just don't want to limit a ultra rare card to free from a main box. But they did do that to stuff like Alistair, so it is possible. So Mekk-Knight Blue Sky just means that they won't open with Blue Sky that often. But Blue Sky itself won't do a lot. Okay, Memory is limited to free. Memory to free and Blue Sky to free. Do we also have Nightfall to free? Which, no, we don't have like Nightfall to free. I think the main problem is still Nightfall. I think they should limit Nightfall instead of Blue Sky. Nightfall is just so toxic because it just bashes itself and just keeps gaining you advantage every turn. Just turn after turn, you just grab more cards from your deck and just summon more guys, and it just banishes itself at quick effect. And it's just really hard to get rid of. It's also an 8, which means you can go to Photons. I think Purple Nightfall is the main problem here, but I guess they're just too scared to limit UR card, I'm thinking. But Memory to free and Blue Sky to free is a start. That does kind of limit the consistency of the deck. I mean, Blue Sky is probably the second best option if you want to limit a monster from Mekk-Knights. So I'll take that. That's okay. That's pretty decent. Okay. So, okay, that's it. Okay, Alistair is now unlimited. I think it's fine. No one really plays this card anymore. Even when Invocation is unlimited, Shiranui stuff is unlimited. A lot of the old cards that facilitate Alistair the Invoker are all unlimited, and this card doesn't really see any play still. So I think it's fine. I think normal summon Alistair is just a lot less impactful than it was before. And there are a lot more outs to the monster that it summons, and also the card itself. I mean, look at all the traps that we have right now. All the limit-free traps, and also stuff like warning point. I just think as long as Cositas doesn't come back, it's fine. I think Cositas is the main problem, which is still really hard to out even to this day. So as long as that card stays banned, it will be fine. I think Gandora Unlimited is fine. The deck doesn't really see a lot of play. And also, since Melody of the Awakening Dragon is now limited to free, limiting Gandora to 1 doesn't really do. No way. No, that's the wrong deck. Yeah, the deck doesn't really see a lot of play anymore. People usually play Monster Reborn, which is the limit 1 card people play in a deck. But yeah, okay, I remember. People used to play Awakening Melody in Gandora to search Lavania. Yeah, they used to use that to search Lavania, but it doesn't really do a lot. And also that's not the best version of the deck anyway. So it's fine. It's fine. No one plays this deck anyway. Wait, Luster Pendulum. That's from a bundle. This card's from a bundle. What? Why? Why are you unlimiting? Why are you unlimiting this card? I mean, it's not like Pendulum decks play limited 1 cards anyway. Do they? Do they even play limit 1 cards in Luster Pendulum decks? It's like the most useless unban ever, because we only have a single copy of Luster Pendulum anyway. And Pendulum decks don't really play limited 1 cards at all, I think, if I'm not forgetting something. Magical Contractor. Yeah, this card should be unlimited. This card is not good. I think Konami is just being too careful when they released Contractor by limiting it to free. I think it's perfectly fine for it to be unlimited, especially after Draw Alone got nerfed to no longer just give you a +1. I think this card is only good if you pair it with a skill, Draw Alone, that gets you a spell to your hand for free. But with that skill nerfed, I think it's fine for this card to be unlimited. I guess it slightly improves the consistency of Lavania, but you still need to have another spell in your hand, which makes this card really difficult to use in practice, so it's really fine. And yes, Sentry! Yes, finally! Sentry! Yeah, Sentry is absolutely fine. No one plays Christrons. Christrons aren't good anyway. I kind of wish Impact is free as well, but I guess it's only Sentry. Yeah. Sentry to free is a start. I think Impact is still probably the best trap in the entire deck, but I mean, for now, I think there are no other limited 2 cards in the entire Crystron deck, so people can finally play 2 copies of Impact, which is awesome. This card is really good. It's really good at limit. I mean, just seeing the previous Banlist, we kinda already guessed that they would unlimit Crystron cards one by one. They started from Round, and then they unlimited Scrap Recycler and Gen X Controller. So yeah, Sentry is next on the list. So it's kind of expected, but it's still glad to see it finally getting unbanned and getting all the love it deserves. And yeah, Solitaire to free is it's okay. I mean, Squire is probably the best card in the entire deck anyway, and with that card unlimited, the deck still doesn't see any play, so it's fine. Roxor's Dragon is free. Okay, that's really good. The problem was the skill all along, so Roxor's to free might make Rose Dragons a bit more competitive. They won't be top tier because the reason why they were top tier anyway was because they can use a skill twice, which guarantees follow-up. But with now with Roxor's being unlimited, it makes the deck just more competitive. It makes the deck, it allows the deck to actually fight against the other meta decks in the meta right now, which is pretty good. It's more diversity in the meta. And also I have another version of Crystron's which uses the Rose Dragon cards and Akiza's Rose Dragon skill. So it's good to have Roxor's finally unlimited, so I can use them with other Crystron cards that are limited to 2. It's pretty nice. And Pulse of the Elemental Lords. Okay, so they're just unbanning a bunch of old meta decks. Pulse, yeah, it's fine. I mean, normal summon Molhu is a lot less good right now. Just because the power level of the game was so low when Element Sabers and Invoked came out, that just normal summoning Molhu is already a really big threat, just because they can just flip your stuff face down, just with a single card as a quick effect. So yeah, Elemental Lords to free is well deserved. The deck still probably won't see a lot of competitive play. Shin's Dojo, okay, so 6 Samurai cards unlimited again. It's nice to have, the deck still won't be good. Okay, that's it. That's it. That is it. That is a lot of unbans, which is a good thing. Especially happy to see Sentry being unbanned, being unlimited as a Crystron player. But overall, there are no Photon hits, which probably means they hit their skill, which was the problem all along. So before I make my judgment, let's actually look at the skill rebalancing. Okay, okay, they did nerf Xyz Galaxy. It strengthened Hero Alliance and Golem Hall. Okay, that's interesting because I think fossils are decent, even though they aren't like really competitive. They are still, I think they're still a decent deck. They probably need a bit of a bit more support for the deck to become actually viable in competitive metagame, but let's see what the skill has improved. Okay, so let's look at the skill before. During this duel, you can normal summon Neos without tributing. In addition, this effect can be used once per duel when you have summoned Neos. You can send one card from your hand to the graveyard and add a Super Poly to your hand from your deck, or just a regular Poly, Miracle Contact, or Miracle Fusion from outside your deck, and then you send to your random Neos patients. And then there's a bunch of restrictions. Okay. During this duel, yeah, you can normal summon. Also, once per duel, didn't change. You can add one Super Poly from your deck, or one Poly Miracle outside deck. That's like 2 or 6 different random Neospatial monsters. You send two of 6. Okay, not 6. Okay, 2 of 6. Also, like, what? Sending 6 Neospatial monsters? Okay, it's only 2 of 6, so it's still 2, but you can choose from 6. 2 of 6. So it's still random. Okay, so it's still random, but for some reason it now tells you 6. Neospatial monsters. And adds an it adds Divine Neos here. Is that new? No, it's not new. It's always there. Okay, so it's probably the conditions that has changed. Your deck contains at least 10 hero monsters and no hero other than elemental hero. So 10 hero, no other than elemental hero. That's the same. Your extra deck contains at least 5 future monsters and contains no future monsters. Elemental hero, Neospatial. Wait, that didn't change. Then what changed? What did the skill change? Is it just 2 of 6? Is that the change? From just sending 2 to 2 of 6? What's the difference? I do not understand. Okay, let me double check. Add once per volume. Oh wait, you don't have to send a card. Okay, great. So this needs you to send one card from your hand to the graveyard to add the card. Wait, this doesn't. That's actually really cool. Because especially if you're adding cards like Super Poly needs you to discard a card, which is already really terrible. And if you have to discard, just send one more card in addition to the card that you're discarding with Super Poly, that's discarding 2 cards, which is quite a lot in a Neos deck, because I don't think there are a lot of cards you want to discard in a Neos deck. So it is good to have you don't have to discard a card to use the skill. Just a really, really good change. I think it's a pretty neat skill rebalancing. It's not too broken. I mean, the skill fundamentally is still pretty much the same, but you don't need to send a card to the graveyard to activate. Yeah. Wait, you can choose what monsters you send? It says 2 of 6 different random Neospatial monsters. It says random though. I mean, it says 2 of 6, so it kind of implies it's not random, but it says random, so I'm a bit confused. But it's probably not random, which makes a lot of sense. So let's assume that it is not random. Okay, go on hold. Let's see the before. Okay, we use turn 2. Okay, it removed the turn 2 onward restriction, which is already a big improvement. And let's see if there are other changes. I don't think there are. Wait, it has to restrict the old one has the restrictions that you can't summon monsters from your graveyards, but the new one doesn't. So you can summon from your graveyard, which probably doesn't do much in a fossil deck because they don't really summon from the graveyard anyway. But I guess it's nice to not have that restriction. And yeah, 7 monsters and rock type, 7 monsters and rock type, at least 5 fusion monsters and nerf monsters other than fossil fusion monsters. So that's all the same. Wait. It says does not contain any monsters other than fossil fusion monsters. So you can't play Xyz or Link monsters in the old version. But the new version allows you to play Xyz and Link monsters. That's like really good. That's really cool. That just makes the monsters that the deck can summon diversify. So you could in theory go into generic Link monsters or Xyz monsters. I believe the deck can make rank 4 Xyz monsters not too difficult. Because now without the graveyard restriction, they can use Miracle Rupture to send Revival Golem, and then Revival Golem revive itself, and then you just normal summon any of your level 4 rocks, and you can make it rank 4. Okay, so I actually understand why they removed the graveyard summon restriction. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, now let's see how hard they slaughtered Xyz Galaxy. Send 1 Galaxy monsters from your hand and 1 for deck. Okay, that's the same. Then you can use one of the following once per duel. Once per turn. Each effect can be used once per duel. Okay, that's the same. You add Neo Galaxy Eyes. Wait. It adds Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. It doesn't add Photon Lord. They just removed the card. They just straight up changed the card that it's supposed to add. So no more Photon Lord. I guess that card is just too broken. So screw it. You're just getting the useless Neo Galaxy Eyes now. What? Why did they do that? That's so stupid. That's so dumb. Why would they do that? I mean, that just completely kills the deck, but it's just so funny to me. I mean, now, the reason why you play the deck is because Photon Lord is a really good card. But now without Photon Lord, I mean, you could just play any other rank 8 deck, which can pretty much do the same thing as Photons right now, because if what's left of the deck is just making the rank 8 Photons, then Mekk-Knights could do that. So what's the point? Okay, if you see someone Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. Okay, so this also changed, but that's not too significant because usually people still use the second effect to Xyz summon Neo Galaxy Eyes anyway. So that's not too big of a impact. So it changed from summoning a monster with 4000 attack or more to just only Neo Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. So I guess, and then the restrictions are the same. that's so stupid. They just completely remove Photon Lord. I guess. I mean, I can't blame them. It is a really effective nerf. I think no one will play the deck ever again after the nerf. I mean, you could as just maybe a neat little OTK strategy, but there are just so much more better OTK strategies in the game, and a lot that uses level 8 monsters that could summon those Photon Dragons just as easily. But, well, I guess there goes Galaxy Eyes. RIP Photon Lord. Okay. So, what are my thoughts about the limited and forbidden list? Okay, let's talk about the decks one by one. Mekk-Knights. I feel like Mekk-Knights could be nerfed even more by just limiting Purple Nightfall to 3 instead of Blue Sky, but Blue Sky and Memories to 3 is already quite a big hit, so I'm not complaining. But the deck will probably still see it play. Probably tier 2 or tier 3, similar to Salads. So, like Salads, their consistency dropped, but they can still pretty much do the same thing they could before, just less consistently. They can still play triple Purple Nightfall, which is the biggest problem of the deck. But they can only play 2 Memories and maybe 1... Probably 2 Memories and 1 Blue Sky. That's probably how they will ratio their deck. So, for Mekk-Knights, I think they probably should hit Mekk-Knights harder, but it is a pretty decent hit, I feel. And I do expect the deck to still see some competitive play, even after the Banlist. Okay, next deck, Infernoids. They only got one of their cards limited to 2, so I guess, my guess was they will limit Void Feast to 1, or both Banishment and Feast to 3. but apparently they were a bit generous this time because from past experiences, they do tend to limit free-to-play decks quite hard. I don't know if it's just me or it's Konami just really hating on free-to-play decks, but Vanishment to 2 is actually okay. It's actually a reasonable hit. Because I mean the deck isn't really good anyway if they don't open Feast. So limiting Vanishment is probably the most effective and direct way to limiting their consistency to open with Feast. And limiting Vanishment instead of Feast means that even if they draw Feast, they will need another spell or trap to discard. So yeah, I mean it's pretty good. I still think the deck will probably see a bit of competitive play, but just less than it had before. But it's still decent. It still can make a ton of negates and graveyard banishes if they do happen to draw banishment, but just less often. Gokis. I think the deck is just not worth playing anymore. I think people will probably experiment with a more heavy more back row heavy version, so they can rely on the other Gokis to search Suprex. So what they could do instead of trying to go for an OTK right after their second turn is that they could just play a whole bunch of other Goki cards, other Goki monsters, and then play a Suprex, a finishing move, and rematch all at one, and then play a whole bunch of back row. So that what that lets the deck do is when your opponent tries to beat over your Gokis, you can search Suprex, and then with another Goki in your hand, you can just start your combo. So I believe that will probably be the most optimal way to play Gokis from now on. But that is just my speculation. And also, people could theoretically play 2 Suprex and 1 finishing move and 0 rematch, because the combo still kind of works without rematch. It's just a little bit less attack for the like free monster, but because you can still use Headbat to summon itself, you can still make a Link 3 that is boosted with finishing move, so they could still do the OTK combo without rematch. So some people will probably drop rematch and play double Suprex and 1 finishing move, but either way, the deck is a bit less consistent, which is good to see. And also, even if people decide to play the back row heavy version, at least they can't play IDP. So that is a good thing. Okay, next deck, Infernities. I think the Infernity limit is a bit excessive. I think the deck isn't very good itself, but it is kind of good to see toxic decks like that having their cards limited, even if they aren't really good, because they are just really frustrating if you face against one. It's not fun to play against, it's not fun to play with, because people just immediately scoop when they see you special summon Archfiend with no cards in your hand. So, yeah, it's fine for me. It's just less toxic decks in the meta. And More of Greed is just unbelievable. I do not understand why this card got hit. Salads also got their Banlist to 2, which is reasonable. I could see that coming. I did expect that to be limited in the last Banlist, but I guess Salads do need a hit because they are just seeing way too much play even after the Banlist. For the last Banlist, I kind of guessed that Salads would just die completely, but apparently not. They are still in the meta. So yeah, Banlist to 2 does limit the consistency even more and forces them to basically play silent mining if they want to consistently open with the cards they want. And last but not least, we got a ton of unlimits. So I think the most impactful unlimit is probably the Rose Dragon unlimit, because the Rose Dragon strategy is still pretty good, even though they don't have guaranteed follow-up, because I mean, the skill still lets them have a 1-card combo even though they can only do it once. so they can theoretically still make a level 7 synchro and then set free pass. So that is still a thing that they can do. So that's probably a good thing. That just means that we have more diverse decks in the meta. And also, that's probably it for the unlimits. I don't think the other unlimits would do too much of a meta impact. I mean, they're still good to be unlimited, especially Christian Citree, because I really like that card. But in terms of like competitive level impact, that's probably it. And of course, Galaxy Eyes is just completely dead. Without Photon Lord, the deck is just not really good. You all know how the copy pasta goes. Photon Lord is just unbelievable. Gives the deck consistency and negates, but now it's gone. So, RIP Photon Lord, I think it's just not worth playing the deck anymore. So that's it. That's what I think about the Banlist. If I were to give it a score, I would probably... it's pretty good. I quite like the Banlist. It's one of the better Banlists out there, especially because they unlimited a bunch of cards, which is pretty good. I like them, especially when they unlimited a bunch of cards. So yeah, that is basically the end of the Banlist review. I hope you enjoyed. It's quite long, quite longer than I expected. But I hope you still enjoyed me talking about the Banlist and skill balancing. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.